According to Ramana Maharshi, one can get moksha through Bhakti Marga. Generally, it is believed that the notion of bhakti is based on the concept of duality. The devotee worships the God whom he regards different from himself. According to the dualistic streams, the bhakti starts with the duality and also ends in the duality. In the viewpoint of the Kevala Advaita Vedanta philosophy, although the bhakti starts in duality, it must end in the state of non duality. The term bhakti denotes the love or the surrender to the God. While defining the bhakti, Ramana Maharshi says that everyone loves the self by nature. There is nothing more beloved than the self. The bhakti is the uninterrupted or unbroken love for the self, just like the flow of the oil. The jnani knows the truth that the Ishvara is not different from the self. On the contrary, the ignorant bhakta regards the Ishvara to be different from oneself. In this case, also, Maharishi says that the devotee merges into the self at the end. The devotee loves the Ishvara uninterruptedly. This love definitely leads him to the self, even if he has no desire to attain the self. How can it be said that the attainment of the self is possible even in the absence of its desire? Kapali Shastri removes the doubt by using a very appropriate simile of a man sitting in a boat. The man arrives at the place where the boat ultimately reaches, even if he doesn't know about that place or doesn't want to go there. Similarly, the devotee who is established in the unbroken supreme love attains the self at the end. Further, Kapali Shastri shows the way by which the devotee gets absorbed into the self. At the beginning, the devotee worships the God in the sense of duality. However, at the end, he offers himself to the God under the influence of the supreme love for the God and thus becomes free from the individuality. So, the important thing here is the consistency or steadiness in the contemplation either on the self or on the God. By the force of this constant flow of the love, the individuality of the devotee ultimately merges in the Supreme Self. This is the fulfillment of the bhakti. The culmination of bhakti is called para-bhakti, supreme devotion. It is called apara-bhakti, lower devotion, as long as the devotee considers himself different from the God or the self. The apara bhakti is done on a lower stage. In the para bhakti, there doesn't remain any differentiation between the devotee and the God. There is no room even for a single mode of mind in it. Ramana Maharshi defines the para bhakti as the firm establishment in the existence, attained by the strength of Abhed Bhavana, the meditation on the Soham thought. This state is devoid of any thought. The complete surrender, the complete absorption of the individuality is expected in this state. According to the school of qualified monism, the individuality is retained even after the surrender and one serves the God, reaching the divine region. Ramana Maharshi refutes this view by saying that the God expects complete surrender and not mere service from his devotees. He further affirms that the Parabhakti or the complete surrender is not different from the Jnana, since it suggests the sense of complete destruction of individuality. Ramana Maharshi describes the Vichinna Bhakti, unsteady devotion also. He regards it as a pre-step of steady or uninterrupted devotion. In the Vichin Bhakti, the contemplation on the God is not continuous like the flow of the oil. While facing the calamities in the life, the jiva considers itself limited and worships the omnipresent supreme reality, thinking it is in the form of a deity to remove those obstacles. Furthermore, the devotee imposes the name and the form on the devotee to worship it. Finally, he conquers all other names and forms in the world with the help of the particular name and the form of this deity. Here, the devotion or the surrender is not complete because the devotee regards himself to be different from the God. Sometimes one worships the God to fulfill his worldly desires or the desires in the next world. However, the devotion doesn't end even after the fulfillment of the specific desire. The love and the faith on the God gradually increases and the devotee continuously worships the God until he remains the eternal bliss. In this manner, Ramana Maharshi assures that the unsteady devotion too gradually turns into the supreme devotion. Here, the essential thing to be noted is that Ramana Maharshi often approves only two paths. They are the self inquiry and the path of bhakti. They are primarily based on the seeking and the devotional temperament of a human mind. According to Maharishi, one should follow the path of bhakti if he doesn't have seeking attitude. Whichever method one follows, he attains the ultimate goal. Furthermore, he tells that these two methods cannot be bifurcated extremely. The God is not different from the self. In this sense, the self attention is none other than the devotion to God. Thus, Maharishi shows the interrelation, interrelation between the bhakti and the inquiry. Thanks for watching. Hari Om Tat Sat.